Are you ready to meditate with cORY? Are you ready to focus and stay still and pay attention to all of the story? Don't want to miss any details tonight. Once upon a time, there was a mum, just like many, many mums out there in the world, that had a particular dilemma. Her dilemma was that every night when she chose a book, just one book, to read to her children never seemed to be quite happy enough. They were very different children, you see, and they had very different interests. One of them was a little boy. His name was Liam. And Liam was into everything that was anything to do with fun and action and playing. He liked all sorts of cool stuff. Then she had a little girl called Annabelle. Annabelle was very, very different. She was shy and quiet and kind and very, very sweet. And she had interests completely different to her brothers, which was a problem for Mum, because as a mum, how do you get one book that makes both of them happy at the same time? Yes, she could always read 2 books, but that wasn't that cool, and it took too long. She needed one book that was just right for both of them. She could never find the book, so she decided to create it herself. The book was called Shark Boy Meets Fairy Girl, and it was the best book you would ever read. Let me tell you all about the book. Shark Boy. Shark Boy was a superhero. He was a superhero that had shark abilities. He could swim in the ocean like a shark, as fast as a shark. He was as mean as a shark. He was as smart as a shark. He was a shark that had a major difference. If he needed to, he could squirt laser beams out of his eyes. Now, how cool is that? On land, he still had all the abilities that a very smart, super cool shark would have. But he could walk. He could kick, he could run, he could play, he could do all the things that a human boy could do. But he was also part shark, because, after all, he was a superhero. Shark Boy, the superhero. Shark Boy always had to save the world in one way or another. Sometimes he would fight with big giant swords against people that were not so nice, and he would always save the day. Sometimes he was like a super sportsman that would run a race or kick a ball as far as anyone could kick, or bat a bat anyone could bat better than anyone had ever batted. He was a super dude. Shark Boy was good at everything. Shark Boy was an amazing superhero. She turned the page over in the book, and there, on the other page, well, the other page was all about fairies. Fairy worlds, fairy castles, fairy outfits, fairy lights, fairy trees, fairy cupcakes. Everything good about fairies was on the next page. There was one particular fairy. Her name was Annabelle. Annabelle was the sweetest, kindest fairy of all the fairies in all of the worlds. She was sweet and kind and had the prettiest wings any fairy could possibly have. Her wings were made out of bells and shells and ribbons and bows. They were pink and yellow and white and gold. Her wings even made the sounds of angels singing when they flapped back and forth. Annabelle was so kind that all she did all day was make people happy. Just looking at her smile would make people happy. She was such a sweet little angel. The mum turned the page. Oh my goodness! No way! Shark Boy was in the grips of almost falling off a cliff. He was fighting and wrestling with the giantest, biggest turtle you have ever seen. Turtle Tickle Tackler was his name, and he was a tickling turtle that tickled anybody that he ever met, and he tickled them and tickled them and tickled them until they cried and sometimes even peed their pants. He was a tickling, turkling monster, and he needed to be defeated by Shark Boy. Shark Boy was wrestling with him, and it happened to be on the edge of a cliff. Oh my gosh, it was so intense. Shark Boy almost fell twice, but then all of a sudden he jumped onto his back and spun on his shark fin, spun 3 times, which completely confused the turtle and made the turtle go, "What? Where? What's he doing?" And by the time the turtle knew what was happening, Shark Boy was on top of him, knocking him completely unconscious with his laser beam eyes. Was all he heard from Tickling Turtle. Mum changed the page. There was one little girl that lived in a house far, far away in the middle of the woods. This girl was so sad because somehow she'd lost her most favorite doll in the world. She'd loved her doll her whole life, and she couldn't find it anywhere. She was so sad. She cried all day long until Fairy Girl came to visit. Tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. Oh, 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 was the sound of her most beautiful fairy wings, flying in through the window, landing down on one of the legs of the sad, crying little girl. "Don't be sad," said Annabelle the fairy. "I'm here to help. I can make you happy again. Don't be sad, my little friend. Tell me all about what happened." The little girl said, "We had to go to the store, and I took my favorite doll with me, and somehow when we got home, the doll wasn't in the car. I must have lost her in the store. Somehow, some way, she must be all alone out there in the store without me." "Stop right there," said Annabelle, the fairy girl. "I can help you. Let's go back to the store. I can make you fly. All I have to do is sprinkle my magical fairy dust all over you, and you'll turn into a pretty little fairy just like me for 30 minutes. And during those 30 minutes, you can fly just like me, and we can go to the store and see if you can find your baby doll." She sprinkled the little girl with her fairy dust. The fairy dust did its magical work and changed her into a pretty little fairy. They held hands and flew out of the window all the way to the store. "All you have to do," said Annabelle the fairy girl, "is go up to that person behind the desk and ask them if a baby doll has been handed in to Lost and Found." The little girl's eyes went very big. "I'm too shy to do that. I've never done that. What if? Annabelle, the fairy girl, said, "Don't worry. You have fairy wings now, and fairy wings make you brave inside. Fairy wings help you to talk to people, talk to strangers, ask for things you want, whatever you need to do. Your fairy wings will make you brave. Trust me." The little girl that was now a fairy, wearing her fairy wings, went up to the lady behind the desk that Lost and Found and asked if her baby doll had been found. The lady said, "Why, yes, just this morning a baby doll was handed in. Would you like it? Is it yours?" The little girl said, "Yes, please, it's mine." And at the same time, she was feeling very confident and very sure of herself because she was brave enough to ask. And because she was brave enough to ask, she got her baby doll back. Annabelle, the fairy girl, and the little girl flew all the way back to the cottage in the middle of nowhere. The little girl changed back into a little girl, and before Annabelle left the room, she said, "Remember, even if you don't think you have fairy wings. Even if you're a little girl who doesn't have fairy wings, know that every person in the entire world has fairy wings hidden inside of their body. And all you have to do is imagine them there on your back, flapping away like tinkling bells, and they'll make you brave whenever you need them. The little girl waved goodbye, and then, before you know it, Annabelle the fairy was long gone. The mother changed the page again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Blast off! There was fireworks up in the sky. There was people singing and laughing and shouting. Shark Boy was in the middle of the biggest crowd he'd ever seen. It was the 4th of July. Everybody was going berserk in the crowds. There was so much going on. Shark Boy was on a mission. He had to find Colin. Colin was a baby that had been lost by its mother. Shark Boy had to find Colin. He was moving through the crowds, looking all over. This time he wasn't having to be a superhero and fight off super strange, crazy turtles. This time he was a superhero with a serious mission to find a little baby that was lost. He was searching through the streets, and then he remembered, I can use my X-ray vision, my super sensitive vision to see through the crowds, see completely through their bodies, see through their clothes, their bones. Everyone looked as if they were in an X-ray when he used his X-ray vision. He pressed a button just behind his ear and turned it on. It wasn't dark anymore. Everything was bright. He could see through everybody's body. And because he could see through everybody's bodies, he could spot just up ahead a baby that was in a pram, that was all by itself. That was it. That was the lost baby. He went through the crowds. He came up onto Colin. He said, "Are you Colin? Are you baby Colin?" And the baby blinked twice, which Shark Boy knew meant yes. Blinking once means no. The baby blinked twice and then burped up what looked like its dinner. But Shark Boy didn't mind a little bit of baby burp up. He didn't mind at all. He picked up the baby and ran super fast through the crowds to the parents, gave baby Colin back to the parents and said, "There you go. Once again, Shark Boy saves the day. Shark Boy saves the world." And he blasted off through the crowds of X-ray people to be seen once again on another day, on some other time, when someone, I'm sure, would need him. The mother turned the page. Everyone on the page was asleep. The page had landed in fairy world, and it was night time for all of the fairies. Everyone was as still as a bug. Everyone had their eyes closed. The mum was looking through the page. Somehow, some way, Shark Boy had managed to find himself right there in the middle of fairy world, and you wouldn't believe what he was doing. Shark Boy was asleep in the middle of tiny hundreds and thousands of tiny little fairies. Fairy Girl was asleep, fast asleep. All of her family was fast asleep. Her friends, all of the fairies in fairy world, including Shark Boy, were all sleeping soundly and peacefully in their beds. Time to relax, said Mummy. She closed the book. Liam and Annabelle closed their eyes, took a nice deep breath, and started to let their bodies relax. No more superheroes for the day. No more fantastic fairy girls for the day. Just Liam and Annabelle falling to sleep. Their legs were sleepy. Their feet and toes were sleepy. Their hands and arms, everything was sleepy. Their tiny little bodies felt very tired. They were all snugly and safe in their beds, warm and cozy. Their heads got very heavy onto their pillows. Time to go to sleep. Time to go and have sweet, sweet dreams.